Hello and welcome to episode 3 of That's My Drink. So this is building on my last video where we looked at different kinds of sugar and just the one way of making a syrup. This week we're going to introduce a second method. The application of heat is the main difference between this week's syrup and last week's syrup. You don't have to make a syrup on the hob or with any kind of heat whatsoever. Yes, using heat does make it easier to dissolve the sugar into the water and also to release certain flavour compounds from certain organic materials. But heat isn't always a force for good. It can destroy flavours altogether. So a good example of this is green herbs and especially coriander. When you're using that in cooking, you always add it right at the very end or just to garnish, because any addition of heat will wipe that flavour out altogether. Another thing that heat can do is it can turn certain flavours bitter. So if you add too much heat or apply heat for too long, both of these effects, once you've had them happen to your syrup, are very difficult or impossible to reverse. The change in flavour due to the application of heat isn't always seen as a negative. In fact, the whole idea of cooking comes from the fact that most food tastes better once heat has been applied. But these cooked flavours aren't always what we're after. The whole sort of flavour change is due to a reaction called a Maillard or a browning reaction. Now, these happen between the amino acids and reducing sugars in foodstuff once heat has been applied. Now, the easiest way that I would describe this kind of flavour change is to look at fruit, and in particular the raspberries we used last week. So, when you eat a raspberry fresh off a bush, it's acidic, it's light, it tastes completely different to, let's say, what our raspberry syrup last week tasted like. It was still raspberry, still definitely raspberry, but it was definitely more jam-like. Now this is just due to the reaction within the fruit and the flavour profile of the fruit by adding heat. If you also another way of looking at it, another fruit to think about is lemon. If you've cooked a lovely bit of fish and you squeeze some lemon juice on top, that lemon tastes completely different if you were to cut lemon in half and put it in with the fish whilst we were baking it. Those two differences between flavour there are just solely down to applying heat to this fruit. And sometimes we want that fresh, aromatic side of the fruit as a rather to the jam stewed fruit flavours. And we can access these flavours through a technique called Oleo Saccahrum. So Oleo Saccahrum, this is Latin for oil sugar, and it's a technique that's most commonly used in conjunction with citrus fruit. So the peels of citrus fruit are absolutely filled with these highly aromatic oils that if you were to apply heat to them, it would completely destroy them. Sugar is known as a hygroscopic particle, so it will actively absorb moisture out of the air. So imagine if it can actively absorb moisture out of the air, if you were to put this sugar with some of these highly sort of filled with oil citrus peels, it absorbs the oils out of the citrus peel into the sugar, which in turn will dissolve sugar and make you a lovely nice sort of syrup. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how to make one of those. Making a lemon Oleo Saccahrum, first thing you need obviously lemons, then take the zest off. We've got a veg peeler, a set of scales to weigh the zest and the sugar, tub to put it all in. Obviously I mentioned earlier the sugar, any variety will do. So as you'll see from this, I'm going to be zesting the lemons into this tub straight away on top of the scales. You can do it any other way you want. So when peeling the lemons, before you peel lemons I should say, make sure you've washed them first. Obviously we're using the outer peels, we want these are the bits we're using it, but we're making our syrup from, we want them to be nice and clean. Obviously get unwaxed if you can as well, they're much more preferable. Using a veg peeler to take the zest off, this is easier, quicker, and it leaves a lot of the bitter white pith behind as well. I've just sped this up because obviously no one really wants to watch me peeling lemons for 2 minutes. And also I struggle with this one quite a lot, even though I'm saying veg peelers are quite easy to use. I definitely messed that up a little bit and give up. Definitely save these lemons once you've zested them. We can still cut them in half and juice them. We can still use them for infusions. There's no reason to throw the whole thing away just because you've taken the zest off. Almost done with these now. So the next step, as I said, we've used everything in ratio, so the next step is to see how much lemon zest you've got. So weigh out the lemon zest, And then we want to use a 2-to-1 sugar to lemon zest ratio. So I had 45 grams of lemon zest, so I'm now going to weigh out 90 grams of sugar. Yeah, pouring that all in there, and by movie magic, there's lids now this side. I'm still learning, guys, so please be kind. We need to just evenly coat the lemon zest in sugar, which is scientific terms for shake it a bit. And then you're ready. Leave that for 24 hours. Tidy up after yourselves. Don't need a kitchen mess. So 24 hours later, you should go back to your little pot with your oleo in, and it should look something like this. So you've got obviously your peels in there now with like a little oily syrup and some undissolved sugar at the bottom. Now, this syrup that's in here is your oleo, but obviously from the looks of it, you don't have a great deal. It doesn't have a massive yield. It is only using the oils in the lemon zest to create it after all. So what you can do is now lengthen it. So you can either use water, which I would add the same amount of water as you did lemon zest to it in weight and create like a slightly longer syrup, or you can add lemon juice or vinegar or another kind of acid and make a shrub. Shrubs are something we should go over in the sour section, which is what we're moving on to in the next couple of weeks. Then, of course, like once you've lengthened it, dissolve all the sugar and then strain it through the muslin cloth that we did last week and into a bottle, label it, and I said about 2 weeks for a syrup should be fine. Now, even though I said that earlier is mainly used in conjunction with citrus fruit, don't be afraid to try other types of fruit with it. I've made strawberry oleos. My girlfriend's quite a keen baker, and she's cut tops of strawberries for different bits, and I've taken those tops of strawberries and thrown them in sugar overnight, and it's absorbed the excess juice from within the strawberries and made a lovely little strawberry syrup. I've also heard people using things like banana peels. I haven't tried this yet, but that sounds quite fun. But basically, use anything. Like if you've got any offcuts of fruit, maybe even vegetables that you're about to throw in the bin, like why not throw them in some sugar first and see what happens? Get another use out of them. So now that we've got our oleo, might as well make a cocktail with it, see what we can do. So what I've got prepared for you guys here is going to be a little highball style cocktail. So first things first, I'm going to use Grey Goose pear. About 50 ml of that into there. We're going to go straight into the glass for this one, no shaking required. Of those oleo lemons we use for the oleo there, I've got lemon juice of those, 15 ml lemon juice. Then our oleo, mine looks a bit dark. I've been using golden caster sugar, so don't worry if yours looks a bit lighter. Just 20 ml of that. Then got some lavender bitters. Ice it up. And I've got some sparkling water. Easy peasy, light, refreshing pear highball. That's it for this week, guys. So thanks for watching again. That's sweet pretty much covered. I'm not going to go into too much more on that. So next week we're going to be starting to look at the opposite sweet, sour, and how to play around with that aspect of our cocktails. Thanks for watching. See you then. Bye.